everyone. Kenneth Lang here with Judith Hayes, I should say. What I was practicing before, which I wanted to do, was promote the book, Elevate, Expand, and Engage.
I got one
Yes.
also.
Um, the funny story actually about this, Judy and I, Judith and I, during the pandemic, we
Judy.
had this.
It's okay. Call me Judy.
We had this idea for a book, the two of us, and we were going to do a book. I think we were going to call it something like LinkedIn A to Z, and we just decided with all the changes and stuff, it just wasn't happening. And the pandemic happened, and I'm so excited that Judith, you wrote a book, and the whole idea of the elevate, expand, and engage part. So, what actually got you to that place that you picked out as a topic or as a way to kind of brand it?
Well, when you think of LinkedIn, I think it all starts with the profile, right? Because if you have a crappy profile, the rest just doesn't work. So that's where the elevate comes in. It's like, how do you rise above
Mm-hmm.
all of the bland profiles there? Somebody mentioned that recently, from bland to brand, and
That's Kevin Turner, yeah.
yeah. So that was the first part, and then the second part was the expand, which is without a network. Then if I just have 300 connections, it doesn't matter how much I'm elevated. Nobody's going to see it, right? So
Right.
that's the second part, is really expanding who you know and how you're being visible. And then the third part is really, I think it's the cherry on top, where you're engaging. You're commenting, you're on lives, you're sharing, you're direct messaging, you're participating, you're an active participant. So when you put the three of them together, it's like one can't exist without the other. You need to have all three of those going all the time. So you always need to be tweaking your profile, you need to be expanding your network, and you need to constantly participate on the platform. So there you have it.
Right. So I just wanted to give a few shout outs to people joining the call. Nigel Willis is coming in from UK.
You're right.
Anuba is from New Jersey. I have Christine Dykman as well. What I wanted to kind of share to our audience is how Judy and I actually first met.
Yeah.
We were part on LinkedIn groups. In LinkedIn group, they were actually asking for people to come to LinkedIn to be part of a group's launch. And I'm not sure how we all got picked, but we all went there with best intentions.
LinkedIn in Manhattan, in the Empire State Building.
Right.
I think that's their HQ in New York.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun when we got there. I mean, I was like a kid in a candy shop with all the LinkedIn stuff there and the picture by the LinkedIn profile and all that. But on a serious note, we were told about they're asking for our feedback on how to improve groups.
Yeah.
And we had really got some great ideas. And to this day, I think they're still great ideas. But
That's all they are ideas.
exactly, because what happened in time is nothing happened. Nothing happened, and excuse after excuse. So, the takeaway that I had from that as well, I made some really great friends there to this day, like yourself and others. And we've just stayed in touch and networked. But it's kind of the love-hate relationship that we have with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great platform, but they're going to do what they're going to do, for sure.
Yeah, that's why, one of the things I say early on is it is a rented platform, and they can make the rules as they do. And so you should always own your data, like your network and your content and things like that. But what's interesting, Ken, I think the first thing I said to you, and this is like, the difference between knowing you on Zoom and then knowing in real life, it was like, wow, you're tall. Really tall. I mean, you're
Absolutely.
like, I mean, really tall. And
Right.
and I think that we have adapted to this whole like kind of online engagement, but there is nothing that substitutes in real life, and at least once in our engagement, to have that in-person experience. It really makes a difference.
I know one of the things that we all struggle with, first of all, I just want a couple more shout outs. I got Dr. Scott Dell here from South Carolina and Ken share my first time. And I'm actually be going on his clubhouse later on. One of the things that we all share is a passion, but we also want to have an understanding. We were talking right before about the one of many viral posts that go on with thousands upon thousands of views and likes. And then when you look at the person's profile, they have very few followers. So something is not exactly right with that. And all we want to do is understand what is it that we can all do to make this a fair and relevant platform. We don't want to play favorites. And we all have our guesses. Do you have any
Well,
idea what you?
here's the thing, Ken, right? In your feed, like you have a news feed, right? So when you're consuming the news feed, there's a couple of things to do. Like you look at notifications and you see all the notifications, right? And when you're in your news feed, these things keep popping up, and it's usually a second or third degree connection of mine. And the formula is it's some heartstring story. It's something that is emotional or whatever, and it's got hundreds of thousands of comments and all this stuff. And then what I do is I actually hit the three dots, the ellipse,
Mhm.
and I mute that person and then I unfollow whoever engaged with it. It didn't mean I disconnect with them, but
Mhm.
I unfollow because there's something about whoever is engaging with the post, because I never engage with those posts because it's kind of like a bait.
Mhm.
But by unfollowing those, I'm slowly but surely cleaning up the feed. And there's two ways to look at your feed. One is what LinkedIn calls top, which I think is how you get all that noise in
Mhm.
there. And the other is recent.
Right.
And so also if you look at who you're following and clean that up, at some point you can, if you put in the time, you can have a cleaner feed.
Right.
So you're not seeing a lot of that stuff because I think it takes away from the experience because yeah, they're good stories and they're human interests and all that, but I don't know. On LinkedIn, I'm really coming here to be a little smarter, be challenged, to think a little more,
Mhm.
to learn about people, but not necessarily some of these stories that I see. So I love the group that you formed. You and Andy and a couple others talk about that.
Yes, we
Share that.
talk about it a lot. We're trying to, Andy Foote, for those that don't know him, he's like really one of the top LinkedIn type people, and he used to have a group on Google. I think it was a Google group that he had, and then the Google group ended up going to LinkedIn for a little while, and then he was afraid that LinkedIn would take the group down, so then he moved it to Facebook, then he moved it somewhere else, and you know it was a wonderful place to be to learn, and but it was all about the whole collaboration. And just to let you know, Nigel, what LinkedIn actually did is, and they did this all over the country at the time. They asked different people for information about groups. They had different sessions, and they actually did that also for the events platform.
Yeah.
I actually went back there for the events platform, and it was a little bit better because I don't know that they listen to us so much, but maybe the right people there. But there's so many different things that they tested, and we all kind of agree that we are all beta testers in our own way,
Yeah.
whether it's LinkedIn audio, LinkedIn this, LinkedIn that. And it's a love hate relationship that we all have. And I think, um, first of all, there's multiple algorithms, and it's not just one. Um,
Well, stop there for a second because I don't know if a
yeah.
lot of people really understand what an algorithm
Okay.
is.
Sure. Sure.
Told me it was like a whoa. It's a mathematical formula.
Mhm.
And it's like, really? How did math get in there? But it's based on a series of triggers. So when a certain series of things happen in a certain order or a certain time frame or whatever it is, that gives weight to a particular piece of content, which then moves it through various stages in the feed. So, it's sort of like first out of the gate, what kind of engagement, what level of your network, what type of post are you posting? Is it a PDF doc? Is it a video native?
Mhm.
Is it an outbound link? Is it a GIF? Whatever it is. And then all of this information is calculated in these very complex formulas. And that is how I understand it should be going out. But as we have learned over the years, and I've been on LinkedIn since 2008, I think was when I joined it.
Mhm. Me
And
too. Yeah.
it back then it was a career site.
Mhm.
So I want to look for a job. I want to whatever I'm doing. And then I think a couple of years ago, like let's say 2000, maybe 14 or so, it started moving to lead gen, because
Mhm.
people figured out there was companies like Link Selling and of the like that had a formula, and it was like this lead gen machine because it's basically a giant database, big Rolodex, right? And now it's moved to content creation. And so LinkedIn has invested money in paying creators or accelerators or whatever they want to call it, amplifiers, influencers,
Mhm.
to start to propagate the platform with bringing in their followers from Instagram or Facebook or wherever. And that's where it's gotten a little bit confusing. So when I think of LinkedIn, it's like if I go to an event space, right?
Mhm.
And there's one meeting room where it's a business thing going on, and there's all this business networking, and it's really interesting, and all my target audience is there, CEOs, CFOs. And then there's another event space, and it's a little bit more casual, and people are a little bit, they're dressed more relaxed, and the conversation is a little bit, you know, edgy, whatever. That's kind of like what's going on LinkedIn now. Is like there's these different rooms, and I think it was Mark Williams. One of his predictions, and I think it's kind of interesting, is he said in his predictions for this year is that there would start to be multiple types of feeds in LinkedIn where you could start to select the type of content. It's
Mhm.
almost like making your own filters because the way it is now, I'm not really getting a lot of value from the heartthrob content. Although what's interesting is I posted one very recently that I changed my hair because I used to have long hair. I had pandemic hair where I pulled it back. And I also got tired of people spelling my name with a Y, so I just went to my full name, which is Judith. So when I posted that, I've got so far on that, probably about like 3,500, maybe 4,000 views, a lot of comments. But let's put it in perspective. I have 8,700 connections and I have 35,000 followers.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if you look at that formula, I should be having hundreds of thousands of views on that.
Well, I think along those lines, Christopher Dixon asks about how effective is having a newsletter, which is, I guess, a further discussion about the value of creator mode, because just about everyone now can create a newsletter. And I'm inundated, like I'm sure you are, with lots and lots of newsletters. So at that point, when is enough enough? I
Well,
was,
here's what
go
I'll
ahead.
tell you about news. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I'm really excited about newsletters. First and foremost, have a strategy.
Okay.
Okay. If you say you're going to publish this thing weekly, you better publish it weekly. I would say start it monthly, over deliver, under promise. The second thing is take a look at the directory of newsletters because there's a lot out there already. And I can't tell you how many newsletters I have subscribed to. A lot now. I go back; they haven't published since not since March or whatever. So it was kind of crash and burn. But I think for my clients, what I'm doing with newsletters is we're using it very strategically to draw traffic ultimately to their website. But
Hmm.
what I like about newsletters is that you get a notification in your feed, in your notification feed. You get an email that says the newsletter has been published. And it's also, you can add it to your featured section to get people to subscribe to it. So I think if you position it well and you have all your assets ready to go when you're launching it, then you have half a chance at succeeding with it. But if you're just putting it out there and there's no rhyme or reason, don't bother. It's
Well,
just
I
more.
think one thing that just happened on LinkedIn with creators, you have the ability to add a link underneath your name,
Yeah.
and it's a clickable link. And so I've had people have links to their website, people have had a link to their newsletter. You have the ability to kind of personalize it that way. And I think what you and I and others do is we just try different things out
Yeah.
to find out what makes sense. We're kind of like beta testers all the time because people ask us questions and we have to really think about the answer just based on our experience.
Well, what gives me gray hair is that a lot of times these things aren't platform wide. So it's like now you can have a lead gen form on your company page, but not
Hmm.
everyone has it yet. And I have not seen yet where it notifies you, even as a page admin, that you've taken in a lead. So, because I tested it,
Okay.
have to go there and manually check it. So you have to work it into your workflow or whoever's the page admin. But there's neat features that are out there. Another thing with newsletter and creator mode is you get to do a cover story.
Right.
So and you also get to do live. So I think turning on creator mode is good, but what'll happen is your default is going to change to follow. So if you have, like, let's say less than 1,000 connections, maybe not quite turn that on yet because you need to build up your connections, right? Because
But
otherwise, yeah.
one thing which I've asked LinkedIn for is why can't I, as a creator, have the option whether I want to make it follow or connect? Why does it have to be either or? Let
Well,
me make the choice to go back and forth.
oh, LinkedIn. Oh, LinkedIn. Hey, you know what? I'm not complaining. I've built a business around the platform,
No,
so it's cool. But you're right. We should have
the
the option to
the
check.
joke. I mean, this is what keeps us all active and busy and all that. it's not fair to those that are actually really trying to get a sense of it. Now, one question that I get all the time, and I'm going to ask you the same question as everyone else: basic or premium?
Well, if you have a strategy and you are going to use some of the expanded features of premium, then it makes sense. But if you are not going to check who's viewed your profile, if you're not going to actively use the search filters, and by the way, don't go premium. It's either Navigator or free.
Okay.
Forget premium because it's just not worth that. For 20 bucks more or whatever, go Navigator. But Navigator is so robust, and I'm starting to dive in really deep because there's a lot of people that want to know about it.
Hmm.
Creating lists. I learned a lot from Mike O'Neill about how to
Okay.
do custom Boolean searches, how to use account lists and people lists, and run that all together. So I'd say start with your strategy. Okay. You use the extended features that you get. Forget in-mails, because I have never gotten an in-mail, honestly, that's been of value. It's usually trying to sell me something. But I think that Navigator is a great tool. I bought it for the year, at the end of the year, because I needed some business deductions. So it was like, all right, I'll do it for the year.
Hmm.
Have I really explored it? Maybe. But what's nice about some of the saved searches is, as I'm growing my network, as more people fall into the criteria, right? Because every time I connect with somebody, I expand that second degree by, say, maybe 100 to 400 second degree connections.
Hmm.
So every time I connect with somebody, that particular saved search grows, and then I get an email that says, hey, you've got 27 new people that fit this criteria. It's like, oh, cool. Now I can engage with them. So,
So I'm Beth asked the question, which I think we may have different answers to. What's creator mode used for? Um,
well, it implies in the name that if you are on
well,
creator mode, right, that you're,
well, I think in a sense, its ability to build your brand,
yeah,
its ability to separate yourself out. I mean, what I've liked about, I've had people try creator mode and I've had them take it back
yeah,
just to see what the difference is. And I know I get a different level of engagement as a creator than I used to get. Um, the advantage of follow versus connect is I don't get as many spammy connection requests, but what I get a lot more of now are the spammy emails. So it's just going from one place to the other. Um,
they're going to get you, those spammers. There was something I was reading, and I don't even know where it is, because here's the thing that we all have to challenge with. I use multiple devices. I have
mhm.
my 27-inch iMac here. I also have a laptop, and then I have an iPad, and I have an iPhone. So depending upon what I'm doing through the course of the day, I'm engaging on different platforms. I forget where, if there's something I see that I like, I don't know, like, where did I see that? So I use the save mode a lot. So the thing is, when you are engaging with people, it's almost like carpe diem, like you have to seize the moment,
Mhm.
and do it while you can. But if you're like me, I'm a one finger texter, so old school.
Me too.
Yeah. But I think the creator mode is, I just like what the name implies. Like you're a creator, so you're going to create excitement, create
Mhm.
intrigue, create curiosity, right? Create engagement.
I think creator, see again, LinkedIn called the creators, and everyone is a creator as opposed to the people that are in that test or the special creators. I think we all get caught up with a lot of the terminology. And Michelle, you do not need featured media section with creator mode. I don't think
Correct. Yeah. Oh, wait, you don't get. Everyone gets the featured
everyone
media.
gets the featured section.
Yeah, that's on the free option, which you should all be using.
Right. And I think, but even so, the first place I always say to people is engage with other people's posts first for a little while, just to kind of get comfortable. My thing is come on in, the water's fine. Well, you can dip your toe in the water by actually commenting on other people's posts and then build up to that. Um,
Well,
but
think of it like this.
right.
Think of, the analogy that helps it gel for people is, um, having a conversation. You're just talking with people versus being the keynote speaker. So
Mhm.
if you're posting original content, if you're posting an original article, you're the keynote speaker of your content, of your profile.
Right.
Whereas if I'm commenting, I am engaging in a conversation. And people learn from the comments. I love reading comments on interesting posts. I save the comments. I mean, I don't save I go through the comments. And I think it's interesting. Here's something that I find fascinating. when you see posts and there's a good amount of comments, but no one is, the author is not responding back. That's almost like me saying something to you and you just turn around and walking away. It's like,
Right,
oh,
right, right.
no, I just took time to post that comment. At least acknowledge it in some
Absolutely.
way. I think we have to use the courtesy of how we are in real life, in
Hmm.
human to human, on the online platform. So it's a common courtesy.
I
Acknowledge.
also think, I'm sorry, that you can get some great content ideas when you follow the responses on a post. I mean, some of my better ideas I've kind of saved for later on, but it's like I didn't think about it that way. So you don't have to kind of create content, from scratch sometimes.
Yeah. No, I love playing with content. I like to take things and test them because the other thing I've learned from LinkedIn, and I don't have scientific data on it except my own profile, but typically when you post something, about 10% of your engaged network will see it at first.
Hmm.
That's how it goes out to the feed. Now, who is that 10%? Well, engage means I've been direct messaging you in my inbox. I've been engaging with your content.
Hmm.
I just followed you. Um, so it becomes like this priority list, and it's different every time because assumably you're growing your network. And then after that 10% goes out, it's their network that engages with it. And that's what makes it interesting. So if you test something like test an image versus a document. So I'm going to do the
Hmm.
same post, and it may look the same in my profile if you look at my activity, but the same people don't see it. And once that first person engages, then it takes that road. It's like having you're going on a trip, and it's like, okay, should we go here or here? Well, I'll go here. Oh, a whole new scenery, right? And that's what happens with every post. Not the same people will engage with it.
So Christine asked this question before, and it's true in a general way. Do you have any suggestions for time to spend on the platform daily? I mean, my thoughts may be different than yours,
Yeah.
but I'd just be curious to know what you think.
Well, it's not a matter of time, it's a matter of what's your habit. So, if as a job seeker, I would use what would be the hidden job market, which would be identifying companies and people that you want to work with, and looking at their content and engaging with their content and following companies and reaching out to connect with these people, as
Mhm.
opposed to looking through the active jobs.
Well, LinkedIn
So,
actually did it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, how much time does that take? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. LinkedIn actually did a survey. They posted it about 2 weeks ago about when the best time is to engage on the platform. It's the first time they'd ever done it. And what they said was the best time to engage is like on a Monday or Tuesday. And then the worst time is on a Friday afternoon. And Sundays are not too far behind. Again, I don't know where they get the specifics from. My feeling is it depends, like anything else. I think you have to be very specific and you have to have a plan when you're on the platform.
Well, here's the thing. I will challenge that because Fridays, one of my clients that's in the supply chain industry, really active on Fridays, really active. I have another client community that they are Orthodox. And so Friday, Saturday, they're off the platform. Sunday, they're gangbusters. They're
Mhm.
crazy. I used to work in the landscape industry, and the question would be, well, what's the best tree to plant here? And the answer is the one that grows. So the best time to be on LinkedIn is when your audience is active.
Mhm.
So whoever it is that you're working with. Somebody else I heard, they were their audience is like restaurant managers. Well, when are they on LinkedIn? They're probably not. Maybe the corporate people are, and maybe that's during the day. Or maybe they're on at a different time, but not for business. So it really is knowing your audience, and when your audience is on there, that's when you should be active.
And I think also all of us have different brands and different things that we do. Um, I always post differently on the weekends than I do during the week, only because it's just a mindset and different people are on the platform. What I'd be curious to know is how do you feel about tagging people, tagging a lot of people, hashtagging, just that whole thing? I mean, because I try not to get too overwhelmed with it, but there's so much information out there. So,
Yeah, the tagging thing, if you're tagging somebody because you actually want them to engage with it, then that's genuine. Or if they're mentioned in the post, or
mhm.
if there's something that you want to flag their attention. But if you're tagging them because you want to piggyback on their network, Oh, I don't think that's a good idea because I get tagged a lot, and some of the things I just look at and think, why are they tagging me here? And you can actually remove yourself from being
Yes.
tagged, which is, that's like almost blacklisting somebody. But I think I would do it wisely, just like with hashtags, don't abuse it. If there's Ken, if I'm tagging you, it's because it's something I want you to know about. Hey, Ken, thought you might want to, participate in this conversation. Or,
Right.
hey, there's a great thing here. I know Ken's going to like this, and then you're going to see it and say, oh yeah, this is good, but if you're just doing it for bait click, not a good idea.
Right. I think a lot of people do that. And Forrest brings up a really good point.
Forrest,
Consistency.
hey, Forrest.
You know,
He's one of
Forrest.
his fans.
You know, Forrest.
I do.
Consistency, it's true, is much more important than anything else. Like I, I just recently stopped posting every day because it was getting to be unwieldy. So I just posted less often. It worked for me.
Yeah.
If you post twice a week, that may work for you. It's really about what you're posting. And if you use the times you're not posting to comment on other posts and engaging, that's just as beneficial
Yeah.
because I would think.
Well, again, back to that algorithm, just like with Google indexing, when you have a website and you're consistent with how often you update it, then the spiders are going to index it based on the cadence that you've set. The same
Mhm.
thing with LinkedIn. If you're sporadic, like I know if I typically post maybe once or twice a week when I have something to say. I
Right.
comment a lot, but I'm not out there, just pushing stuff out because I'm on a schedule. But I find like there's been a couple of times where I've had a couple of things going on in the same day and I've posted them and they've all miserably failed because I overwhelmed the algorithm. So, it's almost like having that consistency and just, putting it out instead of having a rush hour. I think it's going to serve better. So think of what's timely, what's relevant. And by the way, I had a post. I was posting about this live yesterday. I got distracted, and then we had an electrical lights went out, and then it lost the post, so it never got posted. So I'm sorry, but
All right. I don't want to. I don't want to have
listen, another one of my
here.
fans. Listen, so great to see you. Wow.
So I don't want anyone to be jealous of anyone else here.
Oh gosh. No, it's not that we're jealous. We learn from one another. There's a term that, and I'll say Brenda first said it, that I heard, co-opetition. And we all do similar things, but guess
Yeah.
what? We all have our own POV, our point of view. And so we are co-opetition.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
help one another because it's like, what is it? All boats, rising tide lifts all boats.
I think so.
So we all get lifted when we all participate. So yeah, I think that there, don't be jealous. Just kind of join in.
I think one of the things which I've come to realize, and this is from a job seeker perspective, most hiring managers are not using this platform.
No.
For whatever reason, whether they're busy, don't want to put it out there. So you're going to be working with recruiters and you have to find the hiring managers through different means. I mean, I used to post a lot of things kind of talking about why don't hiring managers do A, B, and C? And then I realized one day they're just not on the platform. So, I mean, I'm kind of like not venting a bit, but you just have to know who your audience is. And that makes a big
You know who else
difference.
is not on the platform? LinkedIn. I hope you're listening. A lot of LinkedIn people that work for LinkedIn, they're not on the platform. I mean,
No, they're not on the platform.
use
And honestly, and this is going to date me, it's an age thing too. The people working for LinkedIn have a different mindset than a lot of people like us in
yeah.
terms of how you're going to use the platform. I mean, this is, think about LinkedIn stories. They just came and went. And it's only a matter of time, I think, before audio leaves a little bit
I
too.
never even got it. Yeah, I would love audio. It's interesting. I was Inbound,
Mhm.
2019. I think that was like the last time I went to that. It's coming up live again this year. But Inbound, LinkedIn was one of the key sponsors. So they had a lounge. So I was talking to some of the product managers and I asked one of them, with Sales Navigator, and this is one thing to be aware of if you have Sales Navigator, don't use the inbox, the messaging in Sales Navigator. Because if and when you ever decide you don't want to keep paying for it, all of your messaging is going to go away. So, there's two inboxes. There's the LinkedIn inbox and there's the Navigator inbox. So I asked the product manager, why can't it be combined? So there's one inbox because it's a lot to manage. And their answer was, well, that's another team. So my takeaway was, okay, so LinkedIn is a bunch of silos, and
Mhm.
they don't talk to one another. Part of that is for, integrity, security integrity. But to me, it's like, wow, does anyone think of the UX, the user experience in the inbox? Because it's a nightmare. It is. I don't know how you, I mean, there's so much that goes in there. Stuff just disappears in my inbox because a bunch of other stuff comes in, and then missed opportunities, so that is like my one, what do you call, piece of sand that just gets under my, that I wish LinkedIn would do something, like even give me a star to prioritize a message. Remember in the old days, Ken, when we
Yep.
used to be able to, I think you posted a screenshot of that, where we used to be
Yes.
able to like put a reminder or put a context as to how we met this person.
Or there'd be the tagging. You could tag different people in different folders and different things.
Oh my gosh. Oh my, there's a great tool I use. And as of now, it's not a violation. It's called Lead Delta. And it does an inbox, like it organizes your inbox so you can tag things. It's a really good tool. I have not had trouble with it. They have great tutorials, but don't take my word for it. If you use it and something happens, I didn't say anything.
So this is another common thing, and I would love to get your take on what's considered a successful post. In my case, some
Okay.
of my best successful posts have gotten a lot of comments on them versus a lot of impressions or views or however you want to make it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, here's the thing about views is, like I just told you, I'm using 4 different devices.
right.
Each time I scroll, that registers a view is doesn't really mean much.
Even an impression, like you don't have, it's not broken down by how many different impressions there are. It could be the same person, could be different platforms. Um,
You know what's a successful post? If my intended audience is engaging with that post,
mhm.
then that's a success. So I for one of my clients, we put out a post, and it was good, really good engagement, but it wasn't their primary audience. And once it started to get groundswell,
Mhm.
more of the secondary audience was engaging with it. So was it successful? Yeah, it had like 18,000 views. Okay, that's good. But it wasn't their primary audience. So I would say define success in terms of who the intended audience is, and then look at more of the engagement factor. So not so much the views, but the views in terms of the people that actually are taking the time to post a reaction, give more weight to anything besides the thumbs up. And then the ones that are commenting, if you respond to those comments as a courtesy, that then helps continue that conversation.
And also from it, like I'll do some tagging, but I don't do a lot of tagging because the people that I don't want to force people to comment on all my posts. But if you start to see people commenting on your posts that have not been tagged, that just know who you are, that's even better from a LinkedIn standpoint. But I think it is so important to always respond back with something more than the 4 or 5 words, because people have taken the time to reach out to you. And you brought up a great analogy. It's like slamming the door. You
Yeah,
know, people won't come back. I mean, and it doesn't take that much time. And that's part of a strategy is have that time each day or a couple of times a day just to do something like that.
yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, and it depends. Somebody asked earlier how much time. I mean, I will do it in between. I typically start my day checking my notifications,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll check the inbox. And then I'll go, oh, the inbox. But, the notification. And then I'll look at the news feed to see what's there. And then I'll see these heart throbbing posts, and I'll look at them. I was like, So I think if you can find the things that you can contribute intelligently and provide some insights, provide a point of view, or at least give someone a heads up or a kudos or something like that. If I know the person and they're sharing something, I'll definitely engage with it.
So Christopher asked about tags. So many things over the years have left LinkedIn, and it will never return. And whether they move them to a premium or sales navigator, the issue
Tags
that I
you're
think
talking about? Are you talking about
what
tags? Tags?
tags part of sales navigator to be able to tag people.
No more. It's gone. It's
Okay.
now lists. You create lists, and the lists. So I might create a list of the progression in my sales funnel. So it might be people to invite, invitations pending, people
See,
connected, people engaged. Those are lists as opposed to tags.
the issue that we all have is the lack of communication from LinkedIn in general,
You
if
think?
they have any, you know, and so that becomes we become the mechanism to kind of share what we can. but we don't find out things sometimes, or we find out things in piecemeal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is unfortunate, but I think that we it definitely keeps us entertained.
Oh, very
You
much
know,
so.
some of
Absolutely.
the things that are going on. I love Mark Williams, Mr. LinkedIn. I love his podcasts because he says things like it is, and it's not always favorable to LinkedIn, but he really calls things out. And I enjoy that. I think he posts the podcast every other week or something
I
on a
think so.
Saturday.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. He's in the UK. And I just learned so much. And there's several other people, that are just posting things that are just so insightful. One thing I've been doing, and I'm getting ready to publish something, is I've
Hmm.
been saving polls. I've been bookmarking polls and saving them because what people fail in the polls, and thank goodness that
I'm
is so.
smiling because Forrest actually put a comment about the polls. Did he know you were going to talk about it? He
What was
actually
the
said,
comment?
"Do you feel the usefulness of polls is waning? And what purpose do you find?" So,
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I did a talk on polls a while back, and a poll
right,
without a strategy is a wasted effort. So what I'm doing is I'm collecting these polls. So many of them they just do the poll and then they never do a follow up as to,
right.
well, here are the results and here's our take on it. I think you can use polls really effectively to take a reading on your audience. But one thing I thought was interesting that LinkedIn did, it was like they broke their own rule, is they put out a question and then they asked people to use a reaction to vote their response,
Hmm.
which was like, wait a minute, I thought we weren't supposed to do that, right? So if you like this, if you feel this answer, give it the heart. If you feel this answer, give it the curious. You remember that post that we were
I
talking
do.
about?
I do.
I was like, wow, that's interesting. Because what that did was it was forced engagement on the post. Because again, the algorithm was calculating, oh, there's a lot of people giving reactions. We better boost this. It's like, I thought that wasn't supposed to be done. So a poll without a strategy is
Mhm.
is not useful. Yeah,
See, LinkedIn, we all know, kind of breaks its own rules all the time.
always.
Always.
But it's their game. They can do it. They do whatever they
Exactly.
want.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, there's other features. What's some of your favorite features, Ken? What do you like? What do you think is
Um,
useful?
Now or in the past?
Now, let's say now, because if it's past, they're going to make me sad because it's gone.
No. Well, they've started to bring back for third connections. If you connect with someone, they come up with that. How do you know the person? Although it's not quite the same as it was before. Like
Yeah, I think that's for the bots. I think that
it is.
using bots that if they're third degree, second degree, you can still do it without that.
I mean,
So
I
that
I,
is a pre-qualifier.
I like the idea of being able to tag people. I just think it's something which is getting. I mean, I get tagged like I'm sure you do a lot of times, and I don't want to remove the tag necessarily, but still, it's like that kills my notifications. I get so many things in my notifications. Is like,
Yeah,
okay. I wish I had better clarity on some things. I don't know what to make of the bell or not the bell or
I don't
ringing
know
the
how
bell
it
or
works.
whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I have no idea how that bell. The bell, by the way, is in your panel. So if you're
Right.
looking at a profile, it's up in the right corner there. It looks like the shape of a bell, like your notification.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea how that works. I mean, I know you're supposed to click on it, but I don't know if it's anything different. It's like here's your prior. Here's one thing that's nice about Sales Navigator is you can have priority
Mhm.
filters. So I can look at, okay, here are the top 10 companies that I really want to focus on for this particular initiative. And so I can then just see the activity from those companies. I can look at, if they're posting jobs, if they're posting in the news, if they've had, some major change. That's really good in Sales Navigator. I think the new facelift in Navigator is really, really an improvement. I really do think that. It's just that not many people know how to use Navigator. That's the problem. Yeah.
So, what about you? What is one of the things you like now? You ask me.
Ah, I like that we can use different formats. It's a variety of formats. So it could be, like an image or a video.
Hmm.
So I like that variety. I like that it's fairly easy to post an article. I'm not crazy about the limited formatting, but I do like the fact that I can publish on LinkedIn. And by the way, LinkedIn has a very high credibility when it comes to Google. And so when you publish on LinkedIn, publish an article, that stays with your profile. So
Hmm.
a newsletter and article is the same. It's just a little bit different. You'd see it in the URL. But I like the fact that you can publish and it stays with your profile. So then if somebody's searching for something, there's a higher likelihood that that topic will show up. What else do I like? I like the fact that I can search for people. And even on the free version, they've added a lot of different filters.
Right.
So if you just hit a return, if you put your cursor in the search bar up at the top and you just hit return, you're going to see all the different filters. And so I think that's pretty cool. I do
Right.
like, I'm not totally sold yet on the new metrics because it's aggregated.
Right.
Like if I look at who's viewed my profile, I can now filter that. I can see how many people, are in my locale or by what industry or by what their title is.
Mm-hmm.
I like that I can invite people to a company page, but I don't like that I can't automatically withdraw the invites because now I have like 4,000 pending invites to, follow my company page. What else do I like?
I mean, I'll tell you what I like that people don't do. I
Well,
love when you think about LinkedIn as a search engine. Like if you do searches for words, not just the titles, like I'll say type I'm hiring, we're hiring, whatever, and you can get results back based on that. You don't have to think about it's a search engine for anything related to networking, whether
it
it's
is.
something else.
Now that's a division between the free version and the paid version is
Okay.
that they're going to hit you on commercial search limits. So a workaround is if I'm looking for your profile, Kenneth Lang or Ken Lang, what to do is go to a Google or whatever your search engine is and type in Judi Hayes, LinkedIn.com.
Hmm.
And it's going to bring up my profile. So now that doesn't use up your search coin,
Right.
so to speak. So that's one way doing research that you can find things. Yeah, I love it's a robust Rolodex.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
and I actually called that today. I called that it's a digital Rolodex. That's why LinkedIn is probably not going to go away in general because of the net of what they were looking to do. I mean,
yeah.
my one thing is I wish they would really think about the mole. I hate the fact that it's very hard to personalize a connection request there to this day.
What's really weird is a lot of times I'll get a connection request without any context.
Right.
And, it is an interesting dilemma because I'll process them maybe once a week or, depending upon when I have time for it. But I will usually go in and I will reply to all of those
Uh-huh.
and just ask them, say something like, again, pretend I met you in person.
Right.
And I'd say, hey, I appreciate you reaching out. May I ask how you found me? How can I be of help?
See, and
And
I
if
wish
they're
I'm sorry.
automating, they're not
Right.
going to respond.
Well,
But I will tell you that in the mobile or in the you might also like, if you click connect, it just shoots out an automatic uncontextual invite, which is like, you know,
which is why we have a couple of us said to LinkedIn, let me know when I get a connection request where it's coming from. Because
yeah,
if it's coming from mobile, I'll have a different mindset without a personalized message.
yeah.
Because I've been guilty of that myself.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't even capture it back. It's like, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. I have withdrawn and then re-invited.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is. And here's another thing: is when you personalize your connection request, then again, that is like a paper trail in the inbox. So now I know. I just spoke to somebody yesterday, and we originally engaged through NAMBO, National Association of Women's Business Council, 2019. And she just reached out to me recently and it was just like, and I looked back at our history and it was like, oh my gosh, it was this and this. And she listened to me on a podcast. And it was just like, wow. So I think that when you see somebody, especially as a job seeker, if there's something that intrigues you about a particular profile, be intentional and let the person know why you're reaching out to them. Number one, you'll have a higher chance in converting them, okay, to become a connection. And number two, it gives you some context of when you're looking back through your inbox, you can see how the relationship has developed. And it's just good practice.
And the other thing we talk about is the old pitch slap, which is once you connect
Oh,
with someone, right away they throw a sales pitch at you. And that is the worst thing you can do.
do you have any spaghetti? Could I have a bowl of spaghetti, please? I'm going to throw it up on the wall and see what sticks. Well, here's the thing. First of all, do not have sales or business development in your title. Okay? Because I don't want to connect with anybody that has sales or business development in their title because they want to pitch me. So when I get invites from those people, I'll look at their profile, and if they are active, then I'll write to them and I'll say, I'm happy to connect, but please no sales pitch. Agree? Question mark. And if they say, no, cool, I don't want to, and then they do pitch, then they're done. Then they're not only removed, but they're blocked.
Right.
But most of them, I've had conversations. It's almost like we get into a kind of a fun thing. No, I wasn't pitching you. I think that, again, if all you're on LinkedIn is to sell, it's not the platform. It's a platform for relationships.
Absolutely.
Going back to the engage part, it's not a sales platform. Now, the goal should be to get people off the platform into a conversation, but in a nice, insightful, educational way.
So, Judi, we are running out of time, but I would love to have you back sometime. Can we do that?
Anytime. Let's do it in person, Ken. Let's do a live person.
Let's go. But I'd love to do another event too. But we definitely have to meet. I'm going to be, coming in the city or something when everything not even settles down, but we should just do it.
So, and tell me, what was your key takeaway? You said you actually read Elevate, Expand, Engage. I'm always interested in hearing what people have to say about that.
Well, I found the way you presented the material to be very, very helpful, for different audiences, because I was looking at this from a job seeker perspective first, as opposed to a small business owner. And I still felt it was very relevant. It's not easy to track across different audiences with the same content. So I found it very easy to read, but very, very relevant that way. I mean, and I was looking at that, like you and I both know a lot about LinkedIn. I'm like, let me pretend I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And I think your book would be a great graduation present,
Yes.
that sort of thing too, because I think that's more than just like the usual stuff. And I think for sure.
So I have great news. We're in the process of uploading it. We just added an index.
Yay.
Index, finally, got all this index here. So we are in the process. It should be uploaded this week. So if anyone has the book that doesn't have the index, the first edition, it's not an edition, actually. It would be the first run.
Right.
And I'll send you a PDF of the index. But I think starting next week, it will now include the actual index in the book, which would be phenomenal. Because I was looking for stuff in the book. I couldn't find it.
Yeah. Well, that's the other part again.
Yeah. Ken, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Sure.
And look forward to continuing the conversation.
Yeah, and we will meet in person very soon.
Yes.
And in the meantime, thank you everyone for coming. Have a great day. And if you're watching the recording, thanks a lot for your time too.
Thank you all. Rock on.